Yes.
So we're here to talk about the death of former Pentagon official John Wheeler.
Right.
So at this point, they have proclaimed it a homicide case.
Well, they did that in the first 24 hours, and my professional opinion is they jumped the gun. They didn't have enough information, but it seemed logical at the time, considering his body came tumbling out in a landfill of a dump truck. But they did not know about his disoriented state, and that raises a whole bunch of questions. I think the assumption was that he had been killed, robbed, thrown in the dumpster, and that had to be at the hands of someone else. But now that we've seen his bizarre behavior in the 2 days leading up to his disappearance or the discovery of his body, one has to wonder if he really did die of natural causes or an accident. Perhaps he suffered from an organic brain problem, diabetic shock, dementia, had a brain tumor, brain cancer. He may have crawled into the dumpster himself to get warm. We just really don't know what happened to him.
But people who really think he could be murdered, I mean, isn't there a firm case against the fact that, all right, him crawling himself into a dumpster seems really unlikely? Despite his state?
Not based on the footage that I've seen of him in the parking garage, walking around with a shoe in his hand, no overcoat in sub-zero weather. That strikes me as a man who has something wrong with his brain or his head. Now, it's entirely possible that he was robbed and had suffered a brain injury from being concussed, from being hit on the head. But I've watched the footage. I don't see any bleeding. I don't see any contusions. I don't see any bruising, any lumps. I really think something happened organically to his brain. And if that's true, though, it would have made him a really good candidate for victimization of a robber. So the idea that this is a conspiracy because he was a Pentagon official really, I think, is a red herring. I just think that something bad was happening to him health-wise. We know that he went to his pharmacist, asked for a ride. So much doesn't add up with this case.
It looked like from the surveillance video, and Bryce, I don't know if you can actually pull it up for our chat room to check it out.
Yep.
But it looks like he couldn't even find what appeared to be the elevator button. Is that right? He was going in and out in the lobby?
Yes, and he got really argumentative, combative when she told him that his car wasn't there. She asked for his parking stub, and he said, "I don't have it. It's in my briefcase." And he kept belligerently saying, "I'm not drunk. I've been robbed." Now, he's saying I'm not drunk. We see this very often with people who are very disoriented because of things like diabetic shock or a brain tumor or something like that. They know their behavior isn't normal and they don't know why, so they get angry and frustrated. But you have to understand that when they ruled it a homicide, that would be a manner of death. And really, you can't come to that conclusion until you know the cause of death. And they haven't released a cause of death yet. So was the cause of death? I mean, if he had been shot or stabbed, I think they would have said that by now.
Right.
I don't think they have any physical clues as to what killed him. And really, you can't decide it was a homicide until you know exactly what he died from.
I think all the speculation is just as you said, because of his former career. And also, wasn't he having a problem with his neighbor?
Right. He was. There was a property dispute because somebody was building a house in front of his that was going to block his gorgeous view. And his cell phone was found in their house, and there was an incident where some smoke bombs had been put off there. Interesting, not like anything that could really harm the house. It singed the floors, but they were like rodent smoke bombs. That by itself is bizarre. If you really hate your neighbor, that's a weird way to try to get back at them. To me, the idea that he went into the house and probably set off those smoke bombs, because again, his phone was found there, indicates that he had a brain problem going on. This is not the sort of thing an accomplished 66-year-old West Point grad would do. He was already involved in a lawsuit. He would never reduce himself to breaking into his neighbor's house and trying to vandalize it. I really think there was something physically, psychologically wrong with him in the final days of his life.
Now, completely off topic, but still in tune with what you do. Do you feel like a lot of people, because of CSI and all the glamour, kind of glam up your profession at this point too much?
Oh, completely. And in the end, it's really just basic science. And I really kind of worry that for political reasons, the coroner released a manner of death as homicide prematurely, because there is a lot of pressure. There's this idea that CSIs, in 5 minutes on television, they have it solved. And I think that probably due to public and political pressure to come up with an answer as to what happened to him, they jumped the gun a little bit in deciding it was a homicide. It might have been, but it also could have been an accident. It could have been natural causes, a heart attack, a stroke. In theory, it could have been a suicide, although I think that's unlikely. Could have been a homicide, but it also could be undetermined. We see that all the time. We never find out the answers in some cases.
Well, thank you so much for being with us.
Great
So
to be
appreciate
here.
your time. Come back to us soon.
I always do.
Thank you.
Thank you.